I've been saying for quite some time that I thought Cruz was going to win the Texas Senate race, and I still maintain that view because I just think there are too many people that aren't paying attention slash have been brainwashed into believing this, you know, pseudo Christian. I'm pro life because I care about what's in someone's stomach while ignoring the Yemen genocide and actually advocating for it. Nonsense, among other things. But I primarily believe that Cruz is very likely to win re-election. And there was a poll that came out, 2 weeks ago, where it showed that O'Rourke was in the top 10 for Democratic candidates for the next presidential election. And this was brought up by a person who was a Cruz supporter. I wish I remembered his name, but he was on Free Speech TV, Democracy Now, and they were doing an interview with him, and he was saying, "Oh yeah, well, Rourke is going to lose the Senate race, and then why would he run for president after that?" Well, we actually did have someone in history that a lot of people are aware of who, after losing a Senate race, 2 years later ran for the presidency and won. His name was Abraham Lincoln. He lost in 1858 and then won the presidency in 1860. So that is not something that's that far removed, and it actually stands a higher chance of happening, I think, if O'Rourke loses the race. Now, I'm not saying I hope he does so he can run for the other thing, but I do believe that if he were just to return to his Congress seat, or his seat in the House rather, he'd be a lot less likely to say, "Well, I've only been here for 2 years." Again, in the chance of him getting the Senate seat on that hypothetical. So I guess I'm gonna try to show people that I can be progressive or whatever they want me to be, or just do what I think is going to amount to the most amount of stuff in 2 years, and I'll just serve out the rest of this first term of mine, or at least a good chunk of it. And I do have to admit, I would, as someone who would rather not see him run in that election, it wouldn't be the necessarily worst thing, because I've tried to limit discussions about that presidential election because I have an idea of what's going to happen. It's going to piss off a lot of people. Not because I think this will happen, because I think people for the most part will be upset at the practices of the DNC. But I don't think O'Rourke, if getting that Senate seat, would then say to himself, "Well, I've had this seat for a few years. I'm gonna go and now run for president." I think once people saw that Obama did it and they tried to do it, you had Cruz, Rubio, and Paul, all these one-term senators run for the presidency last time around and all get creamed for the most part. People are starting to realize you can't just get these positions, sit on them for a few years or half a term, and then jockey for it. That literally is a lightning doesn't strike twice. Um, but if O'Rourke stays a House member, which he's been since 2013, he can make the case of, "Hey, I've been serving out multiple terms. I've been in the House doing whatever," and there's going to be a much better argument for him if he were to want to run for president. So that's my opinion on that matter.